I would say it is a horror movie, and I would further say that it is horrific.
Yeah.
Uh, and here go the balloons on the right when I was hitting horrific,
Yeah.
balloons came up. Here we go. Um,
I'm Melissa,
I'm Taylor.
and this is our cinema romance. Thank you all for watching today. We really appreciate it. If this is your first time, we hope you enjoy it, and please like and subscribe. If you've already watched it, if you've already been subscribed, thank you so much for coming back. Today, we're we're going to be talking about an older film, a classic film, a very
Can I
different.
can, can I jump in?
Yeah, yes, sure.
Like, here's the what sort of prompted this. If going all the way back to our first episode, which seems like it was a long time ago now, but it's been like 6 months. Um, the You might remember Melissa has more of a background on the like theory analysis side of things. My background is much more on the production side of things. My taste have always veered toward the commercial, like genre studio filmmaking. Melissa's taste, while there's some of that was more independent and surrealist foreign film. And I worry sometimes that Melissa has been pulled more into my orbit than I've been pulled into hers. So I thought it would be fun to, because we've spent a lot of time talking about horror movies. We've talked to some about science fiction movies. What if we just pick something uh, totally different? Um, I'm not gonna worry about a spoiler alert, but if once Melissa gets the ball rolling, this sounds like something you might be interested in. Definitely go check it out. I will just tell you though, as someone with my background, I don't get it. But
All
with that,
right.
we'll hand it over to Melissa.
Okay, so the film we are discussing today is the film The Exterminating Angel from Louis Buñuel. The Exterminating Angel I discovered probably in my late teens, staying up very late one evening, and PBS was having a retrospective on Buñuel, and they showed two of his films. And the first one was The Exterminating Angel, and it never left me. It had to be one of the most fascinating things I'd ever seen in my life. I couldn't stop watching it.
How old were
Uh,
you again?
I was in my late teens.
Okay.
So I just remember it was late at night. This is the same. Sometimes they would play, classic films very late. I remember a midnight show is where I first saw Sunrise from Murnau, the classic silent film, and I just fell in love with that when I saw it. And the same thing happened with The Exterminating Angel. Some of the images in this movie are really kind of just they just stay with you. I don't know how else to put it.
And that's actually the first thing that I do want to say about it. Because I have never seen this movie before, until I watched it for this episode. But just in general, this movie was amazing to look at. I and I'm not always one to necessarily care that much about production design or things like that. And it's really just one location. I mean, for the most part, but the production design, the camera work, the blocking, particularly like 1962, he's doing a lot of very sophisticated stuff with the camera, very sophisticated stuff with lighting. And I found myself even distracted at times, like because I'm also this is Spanish language. This is one of the movies he shot in Mexico. So I'm trying to read subtitles, and I found myself like, oh my God, that's gorgeous looking, and I would have to go back to read the subtitle. because I wasn't paying attention to what was being said. But that was the thing that I wanted to just say up front is just how, I mean, there's a lot to look at in this movie.
It sort of opens, we see this big I would say like mansion, and we see like the staff getting ready for people that are going to be coming home. They mentioned that they're bringing home 20 people for a fancy dinner. um they've all been out, so it's a late dinner. They were, I think, at maybe at the opera or some kind of show before they're coming back.
No,
um
it was because they were talking about it's a staging of the Virgin of something.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it was,
forget
and
which one it is. Yeah.
that's one other thing too that I want to throw out. You watched this again on disc. Uh,
Mhm.
we're in different locations. I rented it. The what I rented, the digital copy opened with Criterion Collection, but there were a couple of like obvious errors in the subtitles.
Mm.
Um, just things like I don't how as opposed to I don't know how. Like just
Oh, I
clearly
got
there were words missing a couple of times. And I hate noticing things like that because then I question how accurate the subtitles are. Even
Yeah, I
Criterion,
the
like I
Criterion was done extremely well. New subtitles, so I didn't notice any errors like that. The only thing I noticed are things that are intentional. Of course.
see that's the problem when you're watching something surrealist. Like at one point, the guy referred to the house that they were in as a brothel. And I'm like, okay, did he actually call it a brothel?
Was it
Or did he
bad?
call it something like House of Horrors,
Yeah.
just trying to be like insulting in a clever way? Um, I don't know. I don't know what was intended there. But anyway,
What's fascinating is when they enter, everybody's been waiting for them, but we see staff members, we see their house staff, who we can only assume to be like maids and other butlers and people that normally help them with things. They're all trying to leave. Like we see one guy leave before they even come home, and the main, I'd say probably the head of staff is like, where are you going? You're gonna lose your job, don't go. And he was like, I have to leave. I'm going. And this is kind of a theme, and it's a little strange. Like, why are all these, what's going on? And it starts off as a slow trickle of people leaving, and then it gets to be a lot more people leaving. um but then we get to the entrance of the people coming back from this event. And this is where the first kind of really bizarre thing happens. The first time that you're like, what am I watching? Is because we see the two women try to exit, try to leave before they come home. And then they back up and go back to hide because the people are entering. We see everybody enter. They go up the stairs to where they're going. And then we cut back to the women, and then it repeats. We see the exact same thing. We see the people enter the house again and go up the stairs. And the women, this time, though, they go out and they're able to leave, but it happens twice. So, with different outcomes, which is really really important to the end of the film, or not the very end of the film, but to an important spot in the film. So at the very beginning, two women trying to leave, they see people, they're like, oh, my boss is coming, we're gonna hide. So that's the first time that you're kind of like, what is going on? After that, so the people have their dinner party. We'll notice somebody makes the same toast twice. The first time, people are listening and they applaud the toast. The second time, everybody's laughing, talking over it, and the guy doesn't understand why they're not listening to him. There are several things that happen multiple times. There are people that get introduced, that introduce themselves to each other. First time, they're very cordial. The second time, it's like they already know each other. And the third time, they're openly hostile to each other. So these little bizarre interactions are happening with the fancy guests within the house. Um, and so they have their meal. One of the women sits down to play the piano. She does very well, but she starts feeling tired, doesn't finish maybe the complete sonata. She starts laying down on the stairs, and then everybody starts talking about, yeah, it's getting a little late, time to go. And yet,
No, 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 no. Well, okay. Some of them talk about it's time to go, but some of them just want to take a little nap.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
some of them, this was the, okay. So I noticed obviously them coming in twice.
yeah.
I noticed the double toast. I did not realize that people were being introduced to each other multiple times, and I think that's in part because I don't speak the language. It's black and white. I don't know these actors. Like everybody's dressed either in a light evening gown or a dark tuxedo. So I don't. I probably didn't realize that it was the same people being introduced over and over again. I was like, oh well, he looks like that other guy. So that was, see, I get confused watching movies like this. Um, but what were we just talking about? Um, Not the toast, not
The introductions. Oh, the woman that was playing
that
piano.
was the weirdest, that like that is one of the weirdest ideas that I've ever seen in a movie. That there is a party happening and it's like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. It's long past time to go, and it's just like, I'm just gonna lie down right here. And then they all start doing it. And it
Oh,
was
this.
like, what is like that more than like the them coming in twice or the repeated toast or like that was I was okay, I expect some weirdness, but that was the first one where I was just like, this is one of the strangest things I've ever seen in my life.
Ooh, I also need to point out that there's one gentleman that during the dinner says a crack about not liking practical jokes or not liking jokes. And so the hostess runs to the kitchen to talk to the butler, and she says, don't put the animals away. We're not going to do that joke anymore. And we see a bear and multiple sheep. So apparently there was some kind of planned joke that was with a bear and multiple sheep.
Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. This is why I brought up the subtitles. I did not, I was like, okay, what's happening here? Because a guy came out, did a pratfall with a tray,
Yeah.
and everybody just starts cracking up. Ah! Okay, and somebody said like, "Oh, she has such an incredible sense of humor," or something like that. And I'm like, okay, was it actually a joke?
No, it was not. Well, my understanding is it was not a joke. Everybody turned it into that.
Okay.
It's
And then there
like,
was the one
and
guy who was like, I don't think it's funny at all.
yeah, yeah. And that's then after that, she goes in to say, we're not going to put away the bear and the sheep. We're not going to do that joke. And she says they don't like jokes, or he doesn't like a joke, something like that.
Okay, see that what I saw, she just said something like, keep him in here.
Oh,
Or,
okay.
like there was so that's so the pratfall was not planned,
No.
but she was planning the joke with the bear and the sheep.
Yes.
That old chestnut,
Yeah.
the old live bear and
Bear and sheep.
yeah, prank.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
what's also fascinating though about the pratfall is again the wealthy people are dictating reality, right? Like that's how I take it. Like this guy just tripped on the rug with this, what was supposed to be the appetizer, and they all laugh and they tell the hostess that she's brilliant for coming up with this joke, when in reality the worker just happened to trip on the carpet.
That's it.
So it's like, it's a little bit like they're already shaping their own reality. They finish eating, playing piano. People, it's like four. They mentioned that it's 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. The woman that was playing piano is very tired. She sits down and starts almost sleeping on the stairs. And then instead of leaving, people do start just like resting, right? Like resting wherever they are. And there's one gentleman that takes off his, they're all in tuxedos. All the men are in tuxedos. He takes off his jacket, he takes off his vest and his collar and his tie. And people are commenting, like, how dare he? Like, that's so rude. I've never seen anything like that. But then they start doing the same
Might as
thing.
well have started flashing people. They're
Yeah, yeah. And
bad, like
and the
insensitive.
hosts
Ugh.
the hosts are watching like in horror, like, why aren't they leaving? And then they're like, well, we don't want them to feel bad, so we better take off our jackets too and lay down on the floor. Look, there's a spot over there on the floor. So it's the beginning of it is all keeping up with appearances. Like watching it, you're kind of like, this is very awkward, this is very odd. They know it's odd as well. Not to mention there's one
Okay,
guest.
they all right. They know how to the hosts do react like, well, I certainly wouldn't want them to feel what's the at least the translation I saw was, I can't remember exactly the phrase they use, but wouldn't want them to feel embarrassed maybe, or humiliated. It might have been humiliated in the morning. Um so, I'm going to take off my sport. Okay, that's yes, they're noticing it's awkward within whatever social constructs exist within this universe, where it's like, okay, you're not supposed to stay in someone's house past 4 o'clock in the morning in your like formal dinner attire.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, whereas in the real world, it's like, get out of my house. What
Leave
are you
already.
doing here?
Oh,
Like,
meanwhile, by this point, before dinner is even done, all of the servants, except for one guy, have left.
yeah,
All of
the
them.
the head of house.
Yeah, the head of
Or-
house is the
yeah,
only one left. So what happens next is they can't leave. Nobody leaves. Like basically, like the rest of about 70%, 80% of the film is them like being trapped by their own whatever. We don't know
that's the
why they
okay.
can't
Yeah,
leave.
that's well, that's it's. I think it's not necessarily the case that they can't. They just don't.
Don't.
Like
Yeah.
every time they start to leave, there's some reason why they decide not to. Like the head of house guy is bringing in a tray of coffee. Like three of them say, all right, that's it. We must resolve to leave. And they're doing it, man. They are walking out and they are right. And then he comes in with the coffee and they're like, oh, but some coffee would be nice.
Yeah.
So they turn around and go get some coffee.
Meanwhile, somebody has died. There is a dead body that they find the next day, and they put him in the closet so it doesn't bother people.
It's the guy who didn't think it was funny when the waiter fell.
Are we sure it's the same one? I can't.
I'm not okay. I don't want to say that I'm sure, but I'm gonna say
Might be,
80% on
yeah.
that.
So yeah, so somebody died during the night or in the morning, and they put his body away so that they don't have to think about that. And continue on. And basically, as it goes on, we see these very highfalutin people kind of getting more savage and gross. And I mean, they're banging walls and breaking into pipes to get water. One of the sheeps that's roaming, they end up cooking in the middle of the room. Like they've been here for weeks now. Like the idea is like one of the closets in that area has become like the bathroom. And they're
So
only
that
staying
is like the one that they kept going into that had like the big porcelain vase.
yeah.
Like you're taking us through the plot.
Sorry. Yes, yes. All right.
What
So,
no, but here's like I need you to start telling me what's actually happening here.
yeah. Okay, you tell me. What do you think the point is? What do you think Buñuel is trying to tell us with these people stuck in this room?
I don't know.
Can you
Okay.
get?
Okay. All right. So obviously, there's something related to class. There's something related to religion. You said one of the sheep that's been roaming around. The sheep weren't roaming around. They just sort of became a presence again at some point toward, I'm going to say toward the end of the second act, but if you ask me what happens in the second act, forget it. If people are watching this, we must have decided that it was worth posting online, but I thought it might be fun to watch me like sort of hem and haul my way through some kind of mangled misunderstanding of this movie, and now I'm beginning to second guess that. The Okay, the like something with class, something with religion. Um, they are as far as I could tell, what finally enables them to leave this room. Um, they One of the people, and I think it's Valkyrie. Is that right?
Might be.
Okay, they refer to in the
Yes, yes.
they refer to a character as Valkyrie. I think it was Valkyrie. Um, who notices that they are all in the same positions that they were in when
Sure.
another guest had finished piano concerto or something. Um, so then she recreates that scene and has someone play the end of the song and has people repeat the same things that they said to her that night. And then instead of I'm feeling a little tired. I think I'm just going to lie down. I'm feeling a little tired. I think it's time to go. And everybody applauds like I mean, seriously, like they have all been paroled.
Yeah.
And then they're able to leave the room.
Yeah.
Was, was it just, I mean, was it just social expectations that were keeping them trapped in the room?
I don't think your interpretation is that bad. Something about class, like, again, if these people are so concerned with social niceties and all of these things, like, oh, we better take our coat off too. She said she's staying, so I guess we will too. I think there's definitely a comment about, you know, following along, like not being leaders, not taking a stand against anything, and being ridiculous. I think being a ridiculous is a huge part of it.
I don't, I, as I've already said, I'm certainly not a student of Buñuel's work, and if I was, I would have been a very poor one. Um, I do not pretend to have any particular insight into the man's sensibilities or concerns. Um, I would be surprised if if just simple concepts like manners were something that Buñuel saw as potentially imprisoning. Um, I don't think that's it, but it is the ridiculousness. It's That's where it's not the idea of, I want my guest to feel at home. It's the idea that you need to make your guest feel at home at 4 o'clock in the morning when they've already been in your house for some number of hours, have been fed, and that the way to sort of meet them where they are is to just mimic what they're doing. Uh,
Yeah.
it's that it's 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 where it's all those absurd touches that make it, again, manners aren't bad.
Yeah.
Manners like this in this context are they it just it seems exceptionally out of place.
I did a little bit of research on this originally when I first saw it. Um, And I remember like it is a comment on Franco in Spain. So that you would need outside context to know. Um, my understanding is that essentially it was Franco, sort of the elite and the military and the church kind of being at the top of everything, and the working class lost. And it's basically they're trapped in this world of their own making. And they are without like the presence of the working class, without the other people, like they're not going to survive. Like this is what they are. They are nothing without the other people. I also think it's just about like the clothes, the money, all of it is nothing, right? It's like, how do you get these people, you know, what are they like underneath? And we see that they are horrible underneath, just like, you know, like this is what they are. And the that they
But
can't.
okay, not like I don't. They weren't Lord of the Flies horrible.
No,
They
but
were just
if you notice though, the one I think really sympathetic couple, there were two lovers that were planning on getting married, like they kill themselves.
yeah.
And I think that's the, if there is a soft spot that Buñuel has, I think it's for them. I think he's saying that, you know, they're too good for this group and this is the only way out. Like I think like that's where his empathy lies, is with love, you know, with these two people. Did you notice that in recreating, after they recreated that moment and they were able to leave, did that bring you back to the beginning at all?
Yeah, it did not. I wouldn't. It would not have occurred to me that they were repeating things in the same way that things had been repeated earlier in the movie, mainly because, well, a couple, like when it was happening earlier in the movie, I didn't know why it was happening. But in addition to why was it happening, how how is what they're doing the same thing? Like if whatever was happening before seemed to be occurring like naturally, um as opposed to them sort of like forcing something like that. It didn't no, it didn't occur to me that there would have been a connection like that.
But the only time he repeats an entire entrance, you know, like it's so obvious. Like at first I was like, is this film skipping, what's going on? Because it's the exact same entrance, and this huge group of people, we follow them up the stairs. It's a slightly different angle the second time though.
Yeah, the first time when the guy he calls out to one of the servants who's already left, Lucas, I think, the camera comes down for a low angle, and the second time the camera goes up for a high angle. Um, so he was, I, I don't know if there was supposed to be additional meaning, like going low and then going high, or if he did just want to differentiate the two sort of versions so that people would know that, yeah, the film's not skipping. You actually are seeing the same thing play out twice.
But I think the thing that is valid in the connection to the end is that the first time when the women see everybody coming in, they go back to where they were before. Like they don't leave the house. The second time, when they see them the second time, they just sneak on out the front door. So they're able to leave the second time. Like, why else do you think he would do something like that twice? Like, or do you see any other reason why he might?
Do which part twice?
The beginning, the first time they repeat that whole the entrance.
Melissa, like, can I come up with a better explanation? No. Um, the like at one point, I don't know if I already said this, but I watched it twice. I watched it not quite back to back, but close to it. And I don't know why this gesture is causing balloons to appear, but it is. So that's fun. Um, that's just going to keep right on going too.
Well, what I love though is that the servants were able to figure out how to get out immediately.
And that's where going back to what we were saying about the it's they've created this trap for themselves just because they are so caught up in what they imagine to be these important things that they are putting more effort into those things than, or they're putting so much effort into those things that they can't recognize just the simple truth of just leave, dude. Just walk out. Like that's all you have to do. And the household like servants are not encumbered by that. It's
Yeah.
just like when it's time to go, it's time to go. Uh,
Yeah.
they and I certainly don't think that is a complete or even particularly like in depth sort of interpretation. But even that, I feel like gets undercut somewhat if it wasn't just like if it wasn't that they just had to recognize that all this other stuff doesn't matter, they just need to leave. The and what they in fact needed to do was just do it a second time.
A lot of people consider Exterminating Angel, a dark comedy, a surrealist comedy tends to be more what it is kind of look.
There were parts. I mean, we talked about the water closet. So I mean, there's bathroom humor right there.
Yeah.
Uh, when they like did the smash cut to the woman clipping her toenails. Oh my God. I howled at that. I could not believe that.
Yeah.
Like it was just, I mean, I don't like, upper crust, whatever. Like if she's gonna take care of that stray nail, man. Like she might not have asked to leave, but yeah.
But the disembodied hand is also a lot.
Did this influence Raimi for Evil Dead 2? I don't know.
The ending. We haven't, like, I keep bringing it up, but I haven't gotten to it. So the ending, they get out in some type of thing to like be very happy that they're out. They decide to go to church, right? So then after the service, they can't leave again. And outside of the church, we see sort of police, horses, people screaming, and we start hearing gunshots and things like that. So, and then the church bells, we see them go sort of like upside down, and it no longer sounds like normal church bells. It's ringing all weird, like something's wrong. But also, like, what is going on in the world? All right, like, and all of
Okay,
that is
they
like,
were
is he
they
saying
were
everything is upside down? We have the church is wrong, the bourgeoisie is wrong, the police, doesn't like, this is Buñuel doesn't like fascism, he doesn't like these, it's, I feel like the working class and the young couple in love are really the people that get some credit. I don't think.
well, that's all right. So that's ultimately my question. Who am I in this movie?
um I don't know. Who do you feel like you are?
I don't. I'm more used to this with like especially cynical satire, something like The Player or Wag the Dog or Election, where you might identify with some of these characters in certain ways, but there's not really an audience proxy in the same way that there is, something else. You're more just meant to sort of observe
Yeah. Yeah,
what these
that
people
I
are
was
doing.
I think this is the type of art that is trying to keep you at arm's length so that you'll think about it. So it will sink in, like there'll be something, and it's it's all about images and feelings. I don't think it is about like, hey, this is the lesson you should have learned from this. Like, I don't think that's the point. I think it's meant, I think certain images are meant to be shocking. I think some things are supposed to make you feel something. And I think Buñuel keeps you at arm's length. I think he does that on purpose. I think Lynch does too.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of. This film reminds me of a film made 55 years ago called L'Age d'Or by
Right.
Salvador Dali and Louis Buñuel.
You know, Eraserhead, like on some level, Eraserhead is about like a couple and they have a baby. And even when I saw Eraserhead, you and I were not a couple. I don't think I was involved with anyone. Um, Definitely did not have a baby. Uh, but there's still something sort of fundamental there that I could maybe like get a little bit of a foothold. This, I don't, maybe because it is like upper crust, it's just it's hard for me to even find a good a good spot from which to sort of uh launch my criticism. Or, and I don't mean criticism in terms of like finding fault. I mean like the best perspective from which to engage the movie.
Well, it's funny just mentioning how not accessible the this group of uber wealthy people are. You think about like other things we can't necessarily relate to is, you know, like billionaires going to space, right? Like, so these people just flying around up there, like, don't they kind of seem like the same type of people that we get trapped in a room just from their own, like, my thoughts are making this real, so I cannot leave this room. Like,
Okay, that's something that you alluded to. My thoughts are making this real. So, like, to what extent do you? And I mean, again, this is an only symbolic movie. Like, so I know that you know, asking if something, you know, really happened is again not even the point. But do you really think that yeah, they were just it was their own thoughts that were just keeping them like stuck there? And is that it? Like it's just you have to change your way of thinking and then you can break out of whatever like, you know, like thing you find yourself stuck in.
I think it's, I mean, obviously these people had to let go of the uh, all of the stuff, all of that, like they have to ignore all of that in order to break out of whatever they need to so that they can leave a room.
Okay, so let's say they're stuck in this one sort of, we'll call it a mental, I don't want to say prison, but we'll call it a mental trap.
Mhm.
And they break out of that mental trap. And then the film seems to be saying that they just walk right into another one.
Mm.
And the
Yeah.
other one that they walk into, that's one that those people outside, they they spend a lot of time, at least in that other environment. So that's it starts to get murky for me there. It starts to get really kind of slippery.
Well,
Uh,
again, these are people that are groups that we know Boonwell did not like. You know, he did not like the church. He did not like the upper crust, and he did not like fascists. So those are like groups that we're seeing um in this. Like, I think he's saying like the church is a trap, wealth is a trap, like, and the sort of the fascist police that are like shooting people, like
oh, yeah.
they're trying to keep you in that trap. Like it's all part of it, right?
So who's the angel?
I was going to ask you that. You tell me that. Who do you think it is?
No, Angel is.
um,
The Exterminating Angel?
Exterminating Angel.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
All right, well, we could do this all night. So I think we should probably call it here.
Okay.
Um,
Well, let me ask you something though. Did you like it?
I did like it. Yes, I liked it enough that I watched it twice. I mean, I watched it like 2 times within 5 hours. So, and no matter how much I am committed to the success of this channel, I'm not going to watch a movie that I don't like twice in a row.
Yeah.
So yes, I did like it. And if you are interested in Spanish language, black and white, 1960s surrealist cinema, I would definitely recommend this.
I
Now,
would recommend it just if you want to see something interesting.
yeah,
And um and
and
just if
it
you're
is
curious.
interesting.
Yeah.
And if you have any appreciation of just the art of filmmaking, again, what he's doing with the camera, the lighting, like that alone is worth the price of admission. And as you can see, there is a lot to think about, a lot to talk about, um, a lot
I
for me
would,
to flounder about. And if
yes.
that's something that you want to see more of, please let us know.
No, and what I would love though, I would love any cinephiles that watch this, if you know this film, I would love to get your thoughts on this. This is a movie that I would desperately want to sit down with people that have thoughts on it about because it's one that I found very few people will talk to me about. So I want more people to talk to this movie about. I'm really excited, Taylor, that you watched this twice. Because I know I've told you about this movie and and then the sheep walking through the house, and you're like, what? So I'm really glad that you watched this. And I hope some of you guys watch it too, so we can talk more about it. So yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So for now, I'm Taylor.
I'm Melissa.
This has been our Cinema Romance.
Bye.